We are on the record for the hearings of the matters listed in the North Dakota Industrial Commission hearing docket for June 25th. I'm David Garner, hearing examiner for these hearings. We're at the hearing room for the Department of Mineral Resources, Oil and Gas Division, and it is 9 a.m. On the docket, the following matters will be continued or dismissed. Case number 31713, continued. Case number 31627, dismissed. Case number 31802, continued. Case number 31805, continued. Case number 31716, continued. Case number 31806, continued. Case number 31807, continued. Case number 31808, continued. Case number 31809, continued. Case number 31810, dismissed. Case number 31811, dismissed. Case number 31723, continued. Case number 31724, continued. Case number 31726, continued. Case number 31812, continued. Case number 31817, dismissed. Case number 31821, dismissed. Case number 31822, dismissed. Case number 31823, dismissed. Case number 31824, dismissed. Case number 31825, continued. Case number 31826, continued. Case number 31827, continued. Case number 31828, continued. Case number 31730, continued. Case number 31731, continued. On the supplement, case number 31709, continued. Case number 31734, continued. Case number 31735, continued. The administrative docket starts on page 5 with case number 31813 and goes through case number 31735 on the supplement. These cases will be heard in the next room with Michael Zisch. Audio recordings of the cases on the administrative docket will be placed on the Oil and Gas website by the end of the week. If you wish to appear in one of the matters of the administrative docket, please appear in the next room. If there is opposition to the matter, it will be brought back into this hearing room to be heard, and your statement and evidence will be taken. We'll begin with moving to case number 31713. Application of Devon Energy Williston LLC for an order amending the applicable orders for the Cyberston and/or Tobacco Garden Bakken pools to establish two overlapping 2560-acre spacing units described as sections 1 to 11 and 12, and sections 2, 3, 10, and 11, Township 150 North, Range 99 West, McKenzie County, North Dakota, and authorize one horizontal well to be drilled on each such unit or granting such of the relief as may be appropriate. This case has been continued to our July hearings. That concludes our hearing for case number 31713. Case number 31627. Application of Murex Petroleum Corp. for an order amending the applicable orders for the Riding Rock Bakken pool to establish four overlapping stand-up 1920-acre spacing units described as sections 4, 9, and 16, sections 5, 8, and 17, sections 20, 29, and 32, and sections 21, 28, and 33, Township 161 North, Range 101 West of Ide County, North Dakota, and authorize 5 horizontal wells to be drilled in each unit or granting such other relief as may be appropriate. This case has been dismissed. It concludes our hearing for case number 31627. Case number 31802, application of Kraken Operating LLC for an order amending the applicable orders for the Pronghorn Bakken pool to establish an overlapping stand-up 2560-acre space unit described as section 16, 21, 28, and 33, Township 150 North, Range 101 West, McKenzie County, North Dakota, and authorize 2 horizontal wells to be drilled on such unit or granting such other relief as may be appropriate. This case has been continued to our July hearings. That concludes our hearing for case number 31802. Case number 31803, application of Hess Bakken Investments 2, LLC for an order amending the applicable orders for the Robinson Lake Bakken pool to establish an overlapping 2560-acre space unit described as sections 4, 5, 8, and 9, Township 154 North, Range 93 West, Montreal County, North Dakota, and authorize 1 horizontal well to be drilled on such unit or granting such other relief as may be appropriate. All interested parties, please come forward.
Thank you, Mr. Examiner. Wade Mann, P.O. Box 2798, Bismarck, North Dakota, appearing in this case on behalf of Hess Bakken Investments 2, LLC. Have 3 witnesses appearing telephonically, Derek Abrahamson, Othman El Halou, and Aisha Keshemir, and I believe they're all on the line now.
Mr. Abrahamson.
Yes, sir.
Do you solemnly swear or affirm under the penalties of perjury that testimony you're about to give in this matter will be true and correct to the best of your knowledge and belief?
I do.
Derek, can I have you state your name, tell us by whom you're employed, in what capacity, and give us your business address?
Derek Abrahamson. I work as a senior land negotiator at Hessport with an address of 1501 McKinney Street, Houston, Texas, 77010.
Derek, have you previously testified before the commission?
I have.
Have you had your qualifications received as that of an expert?
Yes.
Are you familiar with the land matters associated with the proposed spacing?
Yes, I am.
I'd move the testimony of Mr. Abrahamson be received as that of an expert.
Motion granted.
Derek, let's look at exhibit number 1. Can you identify the proposed spacing unit we'll be discussing?
Yeah, Exhibit 1 is the location map. Township 154 North, Range 93 West, Montreal County. And you see the two existing stand-up 1280s in blue, and surrounding that is the requested 2560 that's outlined in green.
Okay. And then moving on to exhibit 2, can you take us through your working interest in that spacing unit?
Yeah, Exhibit 2 is a land plat showing the proposed 2560 DSU, the E&D Solanchera SLW 154930409, and that's in sections 4, 5, 8, 9. In blue, on the west side, it has operated E and Freetime SDSU, being sections 5 and 8, has owned roughly almost 100% working interest in that. And in green is the Hess-operated E&D Solanchera, being sections 4 and 9, Hess owns roughly 85% and others 15%. And the total for the 2560, proposed 2560 DSU, Hess would own roughly 92% working interest.
Okay. I have no further questions. I'd offer exhibits 1 and 2.
Exhibits are admitted. Any questions from the staff? Mr. El Halou,
Yes, sir.
do you solemnly swear or affirm under the penalties of perjury the testimony you're about to give in this matter will be true and correct to the best of your knowledge and belief?
I swear.
Othman, can I have you state your name, tell us by whom you're employed in what capacity, and give us your business address?
Sure. My name is Othman Al-Salou. I'm employed by Hess Corporation as an operations geologist. Business address is 1501 McKinney Street, Houston, Texas, 77010.
And have you previously testified before the commission?
Yes.
Have you had your qualifications received as that of an expert?
Yes.
And are you familiar with the geology underlying the proposed spacing unit?
I am.
Okay, I'd move the testimony of Mr. El Halou be received as that of an expert.
Motion granted.
And Othman, let's start with exhibit 3. Can you take us through that exhibit and describe the structure underlying the spacing unit?
Sure. Exhibit 3 shows of the existing DSUs in blue and the requested 2560 DSU outline in green with the existing wells marked. The top middle box and structure map is presented with a 50-foot contour interval showing that the formation is dipping to the southwest. And the line A to A prime represents the location of the wells used in the cross-section in Exhibit 4.
Okay. Let's go ahead and move on to exhibit number 4, and if I can have you go through the cross-section and explain what you're showing.
Sure. Exhibit 4 is a stratigraphic cross-section that's been flattened on the top of the Bakken, showing that the targeted formations are present and continuous throughout the region.
Okay. I have no further questions. I'd offer exhibits 3 and 4.
Exhibits are admitted. Any questions from the staff? Ms. Ketchmere,
Yes, sir.
do you solemnly swear or affirm under the penalties of perjury the testimony you're about to give in this matter will be true and correct to the best of your knowledge and belief?
Yes, I do.
Aisha, can I have you state your name, tell us by whom you're employed in what capacity, and give us your business address?
Sure. My name is Aisha Kashmir. I'm a reservoir engineer employed by Hess Corporation, located at 1501 McKinney Street, Houston, Texas, 77010.
And Aisha, have you previously testified before the commission?
Yes, I have.
Have you had your qualifications received as that of an expert?
Yes.
And are you familiar with the engineering matters associated with this spacing unit?
Yes, I am.
I would move the testimony of Ms. Keshmir be received as that of an expert.
Motion granted.
And Aisha, let's look at exhibit number 5. Can you walk us through that and explain how you developed the spacing unit?
Sure. Exhibit number 5 shows the proposed 2560 development plan for section 4, 5, 8, and 9. The bold dashed line is the proposed well and will be drilled in the Two-Fork Formation.
Okay. Let's move on then to exhibit 6. Can you summarize the reservoir data and the economics?
Sure. Exhibit 6 shows the reservoir and economic summary for a single 2-mile Two-Fork well in Robinson Lake field. The expected EUR is around 580,000 standard barrels. Economics run at $62 WTI flat and 100% working interest. The expected MPV is around 12 million with 100% rate of return.
Okay. And Aisha, in your opinion, if the commission approved the 2560 to allow for the lease line well, that prevent waste, protect relative rights, prevent the drilling of unnecessary wells?
Yes.
Okay. I have no further questions. I'd offer exhibits 5, 6, and the gas capture plan affidavit.
Exhibits are admitted. Any questions from the staff?
Aisha, the surface location, is that going to be on the current pad that's in almost the center of section 4, or is this going to be a new build?
It's going to be a new build.
Is there a reason that it couldn't be located on that location that's appears to be very close to what you're showing in your layout here on Exhibit 5?
Yes, the original plan was to do it in that, as you can see in the exhibit, but due to landowner issues, we had to move the pad and make a new pad built.
So is the pad location on Exhibit 5 in the general area where it will be, or are you indicating that it's actually going to be moved even from that?
It's going to be moved from that. So when we did the exhibit, that was before we get response from the landowner. So we just got it last week, actually this week, that we had issue with that. They're not, they don't want us to put in that. And so we moved, that's going to be moved in the section, northern section 1, and it's going to be a new build.
It's getting moved into, did you say section 1?
No, sorry, it's section 33. I meant section north.
Okay. And is the well anticipated to be drilled on the section line, or are you going to offset it east or west?
It's going to be on the section line.
What's your anticipated spud date?
It's February 27th.
Of which year?
2027.
Okay, thank you.
Aisha, which bench in the Three Forks are you targeting?
It's the first bench.
Okay, thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, that concludes our hearing for case number 31803. Case number 31804, application of Oasis Petroleum North America LLC for an order amending the applicable orders for the Lake Trenton 6-mile and/or Fort Buford Bakken pools to establish an overlapping stand-up 5120 acre spacing unit described as 17, 18, 19, 20, 29, 30, 31, and 32, Township 153 North, Range 103 West, Williams County, North Dakota, and authorize 6 horizontal wells to be drilled on such unit or granting such other relief as may be appropriate. All interested parties, please come forward.
Thank you, Mr. Examiner. Wade Mann, P.O. Box 2798, Bismarck, North Dakota, appearing in this case on behalf of Oasis Petroleum North America, LLC. Intend to have 3 witnesses appear telephonically, Greg Sandberg, John Prim, and Walker Gates, and I need to call them now.
Okay.
Hey, Greg, can you hear me? Yep, got everybody? All right. All right, Mr. Examiner, we've got him on the line.
Mr. Sandberg,
Yes, sir.
do you solemnly swear or affirm under the penalties of perjury the testimony you're about to give in this matter will be true and correct to the best of your knowledge and belief?
Yes, I do.
Greg, can I have you state your name, tell us by whom you're employed and what capacity, and give us your business address?
Yep. Greg Sandberg, I'm a landman for Ford Energy, parent company of Oasis Petroleum. Address 1001 Fannin Street, Suite 1500, Houston, Texas, 77002.
And Greg, have you previously testified before the commission?
Yes, I have.
Have you had your qualifications received as that of an expert?
Yes, they were.
And are you familiar with the land matters associated with this proposed spacing unit?
Yes, I am.
Okay, I'd move the testimony of Mr. Sandberg be received as that of an expert.
Motion granted.
And Greg, let's start with L1, and if I can have you identify the proposed spacing unit we're discussing, and then if there's any specifics relating to the application and the request, just kind of walk us through that.
Absolutely. L1 is the locator map showing the proposed spacing unit. Section 17, 18, 19, 20, 29, 30, 31, and 32 of Township 153 North, Range 103 West. And while you have this in front of you, I'm going to give you an overview of the case here. So, Cord is seeking a 5,120 acre spacing unit for full development of those lands together as a common spacing unit. Cord operates each of the underlying 1280, and each is held by consistent production. We understand the Commission's hesitation to grant large spacing units such as these, and only bring this case because we believe that our plan is the best way to protect relative rights, prevent the drilling of unnecessary wells, and to maximize the economic recovery of the resource. As you can see on this exhibit, the location and orientation of the existing wells and the 4 underlying spacing units requires very specific location of each lateral for optimal development. Our plans include a set of wells that will traverse both the underlying DSU and the section line corridor, crossing the traditional section line setbacks. Location of each lateral optimizes interwell spacing between both the existing wells and the new wells, and provides for a maximum and uniform recovery of the resource across the proposed spacing unit. Adherence to a traditional spacing of 2 4-mile DSUs with a section line corridor in between limits the opportunity to fully develop the resource and creates a need for wasteful duplication of efforts. Enlarging the section line corridor is not a workable solution, as any line drawn north or south within the 5120 will create setbacks that would be violated by some portion of a planned well. Modification of the planned lateral location creates underdeveloped resources in some areas and overlapping development in others. Under the proposed 5120 acre spacing, 24 miles of productive lateral effectively drains the resource, while traditional spacing would require an additional 2 miles of productive lateral for similar recovery. That means we would need to drill an extra well to recover the same resources. As you will see, the resources are materially similar across all 8 sections and will be developed with equivalent producing laterals in each of the underlying 1280 spacing units. This means that each owner will have practically the same opportunity to recover their fair share of the resources as they would in a traditional spacing scenario. To put it simply, with this plan, we can fully and uniformly develop the subject land with less wells and less lateral footage, while at the same time protecting the correlative rights of the owners. That'll do it on L1. Thank you.
Yep.
L2, please.
All right, let's move on then, Greg, to L2, and just take us through your working interest in that spacing unit.
Absolutely. So showing here the 5120 spacing unit, we have about 62.6% working interest.
Okay. And then moving on to L3, the breakdown of the working interest in the underlying spacing units.
Absolutely. Sections 18 and 19 depicted there. In DSU A, we have an 82.5% working interest. DSU B is 17 and 20, 50.62. DSU C is sections 30 and 31, 57%. In DSU D, sections 29 and 32, we have a 60.28% working interest.
Okay. I have no further questions for Mr. Sandberg. I offer the land exhibits.
Exhibits are admitted. Any questions from the staff?
Greg, are there any federal minerals in these sections?
I believe there was a small federal tract in one of the underlying spacing units. I can double check that and follow up if you need me to get you a definitive answer.
Yeah, I assume that the fee interest is not common, but if you could submit where the federal tracts are for the record, please.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
Mr. Prim,
Yes.
do you solemnly swear or affirm under the penalties of perjury the testimony you're about to give in this matter will be true and correct to the best of your knowledge and belief?
Yes.
John, can I have you state your name, tell us by whom you're employed in what capacity, and give us your business address?
Yes, my name is John Prim. I'm a geologist for Cord Energy, parent company of Oasis Petroleum. Business address 1001 Fannin Street, Suite 1500, Houston, Texas 77002.
And John, have you previously testified before the commission?
Yes.
Have you had your qualifications received as that of an expert?
Yes.
And are you familiar with the geology underlying the proposed spacing unit?
Yes.
I'd move the testimony of Mr. Prim be received as that of an expert.
Motion granted.
And John, let's start with G1, if you can walk us through that structure map.
Sure. G1 shows the upper Bakken structure map with contours of 20 feet in subsea TVD space. And so as you can see, the proposed spacing unit outlined there in the yellow dashed line shows a gentle dip off to the east from approximately 30 feet subsea TVD from west to east.
Okay. Then let's move on to G2, that ISOPAC map. Take us through that and explain what you're showing.
Yeah, so this is the ISOPAC map of the Middle Bakken, showing contours of 3 feet. You can see that 27-foot contour kind of running through the middle of the proposed spacing unit there. I've also listed the average thickness of each of the units, so you can see it's plus or minus 1 foot of that 27-foot rough average there in each of the underlying 1280s.
So you have consistency essentially throughout the entirety of that proposed 5120?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Let's move on to G3 and walk us through, show us what you're showing on that map.
Yeah, so G3 is a hydrocarbon foot map, or SOFI-H, if you're familiar with that term. Essentially, it's just a thickness of the Middle Bakken multiplied by the porosity of the Middle Bakken multiplied by the oil saturation. So it's giving you hydrocarbon feet of the underlying units there in the Middle Bakken. Average across the proposed spacing unit is approximately 1.38. And I've also listed here showing the average in the underlying 1280s as well. And each of these is less than or equal to plus or minus 5% of that average across the whole unit. And we view this in concert with kind of the uncertainty that comes along with the well control and the petrophysical model of that goes into this kind of mapping to be, materially the same across this entire proposed unit here.
Sure. So again, you've demonstrated uniformity throughout the entirety of the 5120?
Yes, sir, that's what we believe.
Let's move on to G4. Can you walk us through your type log?
Yeah, so G4 shows the Nordel 1-25-1D, and it shows the subsurface parameters that we
expect to encounter in the subsurface, and it is in the section 25, just to the west of the proposed spacing unit.
Okay. I have no further questions for Mr. Prim. I'd offer the geology exhibits.
Exhibits are admitted. Any questions from the staff? Mr. Gates,
Yes, sir.
do you solemnly swear or affirm under the penalties of perjury, testimony you're about to give in this matter will be true and correct to the best of your knowledge and belief?
I do.
Walker, can I have you state your name, tell us by whom you're employed in what capacity, and give us your business address?
Sir, my name is Walker Gates. I'm employed as a development engineer for Cord Energy, the parent company of Oasis Petroleum, headquartered out of Houston, Texas at 1001 Fannin Street, Suite 1500, area code 77002.
Okay. And Walker, it's my understanding you maybe previously testified before the commission, but in a different capacity, is that correct?
Yes, sir. I
Okay.
testified in the capacity of a facilities engineer, but never as a development engineer.
Sure. Why don't we go ahead then and just kind of refresh the commission's memory and let them know your qualifications with respect to development engineering. So can you just briefly take us through your educational background and relevant work experience?
Happy to. Graduated from Colorado School of Mines with a Bachelor of Science in Petroleum Engineering in 2015. Been in the industry for 10 years. And over those 10 years, I've worked in the capacity of an operations engineer for 5, a facilities engineer for 4 years, and for the past year, I've worked as a development engineer for Cord.
And Walker, are you familiar with all of the engineering matters that are associated with this proposed spacing unit and its development?
Yes, sir.
Okay. I'd move the testimony of Mr. Gates be received as that of an expert.
Motion granted.
Okay. And Walker, let's start with your Exhibit E1. Can you walk us through that exhibit and explain to the commission how you would propose to develop this 5120?
So Exhibit E1 shows the proposal to develop a 5120 acre unit in Township 153 North, Range 103 West, across sections 17, 18, 19, 20, 29, 30, 31, and 32. We are proposing to drill 6 4-mile middle Bakken wells from north to south, developing all 6 wells at the same time with an estimated spud of Q1 of 2026 and an estimated frac and till in Q3 of 2026. 3 wells on the eastern side of the unit will be drilled from an expanded Rella 17-20H location, that's the parent well, in the northeast 1280, and flow lined over to a central tank battery on a new build location that will serve as the surface hole locations of the 3 wells planned on the western side of the unit. The reason we're proposing a singular 5120 acre unit instead of 2 2560 acre units is a result of the 2 wells of note. Those are shown in green. Due to the spacing of the parent wells to maximize recovery of the area, the proposed 4-mile western well will start in unit before landing within the section line corridor between sections 29, 30, 31, and 32. The eastern green well will be outside the setback north at the heel landing as close as 300 feet to the section line between 16 and 17. A future exhibit will dive into 3 different spacing scenarios we explore to most efficiently and effectively recover the available resources. The bottom table shows the cumulative oil produced by the parent wells, all of which are of the same vintage. And each of the existing 1280 acre units is relatively congruent. And the plan to drill an even number of lateral penetrations in each section promotes an even drainage of resource across the unit. We believe this is the most efficient way to fully develop this area to capture the available resources based on the existing parent well spacing and performance, minimizing waste by using a shared central tank battery, reducing the total overall number of wells drilled while protecting relative rights of all parties.
Okay. Let's move on to E2, and if I could have you summarize the reservoir data and then the economics for the wells.
So E2 is our volumetric and economic analysis. The top table shows the reservoir properties used in that analysis. The middle table shows a determined original oil in place of approximately 7.5 million barrels of oil per 640 acre unit. And we have an estimated ultimate recovery of 860,000 barrels of oil per well for the 6 infill wells. In terms of economics, so we expect an approximate 50% rate of return, exceeding all of our internal metrics.
Okay. And then let's move forward with Exhibit E3. And can you just walk us through that and sort of explain and compare the different spacing scenarios and how it's demonstrated that the 5120 is really the only way to develop these lands?
Yep. So Exhibit E3 shows the 3 evaluated scenario dependent spacing cases that we explored to fully develop the shown acreage. The first case in the upper left-hand side of the exhibit shows how Oasis would develop the acreage based on the existing 4 1280-acre spacing units. It required a total of 12 wells, including a southern central lease line. The second case on the upper right-hand side of the exhibit shows a development plan for the case of 2 2560-acre units with a central lease line between the 2 units. This case would result in 6 4-mile wells with the necessity to drill an additional 2-mile well in the western unit shown in green to fully develop that acreage and protect corrals of rights, specifically in sections 18 and 19. The final case, the bottom map of the exhibit, shows the proposed 5120, which we previously discussed. And in essence, all 3 of these cases result in a gross oil EUR of 6.8 million barrels of oil, showing that the 4 1280 spacing units and the 2 2560-acre spacing unit cases would result in no additional recovery with unnecessary wells at additional cost.
Okay. And Walker, if you've listened to the hearings before, you've probably heard the question that's posed to many of the engineers on whether or not the proposed spacing would prevent drilling of unnecessary wells, prevent waste, and protect correlative rights. Are you familiar with that?
Yes, sir.
Yeah. And the reason for that is that pursuant to statute, the commission must establish spacing units in a manner that does avoid the drilling of unnecessary wells, prevent waste, and protect correlative rights. And I just want to break that down a little bit. First with the avoiding the drilling of unnecessary wells. So with what you're asking for, you can develop all 8 sections with 6 wells, correct?
That is correct.
So in your opinion, would that prevent the drilling of any unnecessary wells on these lands? So Walker, I don't know if you heard. So if you get the 5120, would that prevent the drilling of any unnecessary wells?
Yes, sir. Sorry, I answered. I'm not sure if you heard me.
Oh, I didn't,
yes,
I didn't hear you.
It would result. Yeah, it would result in 6 wells versus the other 2 cases shown, where the 4 1280-acre unit case would result in 12 wells, and the 2 2560 unit case would result in 7.
Yep. And then Walker, another one of the statutory requirements is to avoid or prevent waste. And with respect to, looking at economic waste, you've got in your table that the lands could be developed with a gross capex of $65 million if you get the 5120. In your opinion, then, would that prevent waste?
Yes, sir. It would prevent waste.
Okay. And then based on not only this map, but the previous maps and what John testified with respect to consistency, of the reservoir and the geology, in your opinion, if you develop with respect to the 5120, would that protect the correlative rights of all of the owners?
Yes, sir, it would.
Okay. And John, there's another statutory provision with respect to spacing units that indicates that the size and shape of the spacing units should be such that will result in the efficient and economic development of the pool as a whole. In your opinion, would development on the 5120, as you've shown in your exhibits, would that be the most efficient and the most economic manner of developing these lands?
Yes, sir. The proposed 5120-acre spacing unit would be the most efficient and effective, and it also wouldn't strand any surrounding DSUs or other lease lines in the area.
Sure. Let's move on to E4 then. Can you take us through that exhibit and kind of explain what you're showing the commission here?
Yes, sir. So E4 shows the final tracer recovery sample on the Cordwell Rice Stead, the 4-mile we brought on in Q1 of 2025. This graph is essentially showing a full contribution from all stages across the entirety of the 4-mile lateral. just a super high level view.
Sure. I have no further questions at this time for Mr. Gates, and I would offer the engineering exhibits as well as the gas capture plan affidavit.
Exhibits are admitted. Any questions from staff?
Marker on Exhibit E4. Why are the top 5 lines, why are they grouped together, the stages?
My understanding is it's hard to determine the exact stage the tracer came once you get further down your lateral.
So what you're telling us, there's contribution from at least one of those stages,
Yep.
but you don't know if it's all of them.
Correct.
On Exhibit E1, you talked about protecting correlative rights. So let's walk through a hypothetical example. Let's say the very westernmost well is a really good well, and the easternmost well is not a very good well. But they're going to share that oil all the way across these 8 sections. How does that protect relative rights?
This expects full contribution from all the wells. Based on John's testimony and our development plan, we believe all wells will provide equal contribution there.
Do all wells provide equal contribution right now, the existing wells?
Yes, sir. They're all of the same vintage. They all have a similar forecast of a EUR of 400,000 barrels of oil. And those were included in our economic analysis in E3.
So according to my quick rough calculations, the poorest well and the best well in these space units right now, there's a 23% difference in production. I mean, is that is that equal?
I would chalk that up to when these wells came online. So the parent well in section 17 and 20 came on 2 years earlier than sections 18 and 19. So that's the difference we're seeing. So just when those wells were brought on, the forecasted
So when
production for all these wells is similar.
when was the well brought on in 17 and 20?
Give me 1 second and I can tell you. Actually, I will need to get back to you on that. Not letting me dive into it. Do you mind if I get you an answer at a later date on that one?
No,
Actually, sorry.
we'll walk through it right now. So I believe it came on in July of 2012. Does that sound right?
Yes, sir.
And how about the well in 18 and 19?
The 2 wells I don't have access to the dates on.
Does May of 2011 sound about right?
Yes, sir, it does. All 4 of these wells came on between 2010 and 2012.
And 29 and 32 is... March of 2013.
Yes, sir.
30 and 31. Looks like also March of 2013. Do you know what your distances are for the two center wells from the common section lines they're paralleling?
Sir, I can pull that up for you. So, the proposed plan, correct?
Correct.
So I have approximately 1,250 feet on the western 4 miles to the parent well on the southern end.
Excuse me, Walker. What is the distance of the two green lines in the center from the common section lines between 17, 18, 19, 20, 29, 30, 31, and 32?
Yes, sir. So, and we'll talk about the western well first. So, in section 18, we're approximately 1,000 feet. In section 19, we dipped down to about 690 feet, and then that western well plans to follow that section line all the way down the southern portion. On the eastern well, at the heel, we're looking at approximately 300 feet in section 17. And then as we go down, we slowly increase our distance there to approximately 700 feet.
In section 32?
Yes, sir.
And going back to the western well, what's that distance in sections 30 and 31?
Right now, we have it running directly over the central section line, over that central section. So 0 feet.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, and real quick, I had it backwards. If we could hop back to E4 really quick. So stage 1 is the toe. The stages that are split up into multiple, 31 through 54, are the heel. We know we are receiving full contribution from those stages. So this is more showing that we're receiving full contribution from the toe of our 4 mile wells.
Okay, thank you for that clarification.
Walker, on Exhibit E4, this is a very qualitative way of looking at. Do you guys have the quantitative data showing equal contribution, or just that each stage is contributing?
We do have the full data set.
Is that something that you would be willing to show the commission?
I'd have to talk to my superiors and confirm before sending that over.
Okay. And then back on E3, in the evaluated case 2, it appears like the well in section 18 and 19 is a 2 mile lateral. And then down on the bottom, you're showing equivalent oil production, or oil EUR, from evaluated case 2 to the proposed case 1. I'm trying to, could you explain how that works, where you're drilling 2 miles of less rock, completing 2 miles of less rock and producing 2 miles of less rock, and still have the same oil EUR?
It's purely based on spacing with our completion that we've run on the 4 miler. We'll gain the same amount of recovery as we would by having to drill that extra 2 mile well.
Have you, on that same slide, or really just a general question, how have you established the correlation from 2 to 3 to 4 mile lateral production? And I guess is the correlation from a 2, 3, 4 mile lateral a one-to-one correlation? Because that's what this is indicating to me.
To be honest, I'd like to get back to you on that. I can sit down and maybe put together an example.
Yeah, I guess some representation that a 4 mile lateral production is the same as 2 mile lateral producing wells. And I think my question on E4 would also help with that as well. Thank you.
Okay, we have a few things to submit. How long, July 2nd? That's a week? Is that long enough?
Yeah, so Walker, July 2nd, would that be a sufficient amount of time to pull that together?
Yes, sir.
Yeah.
Okay. The record will remain open in this case until July 2nd. That concludes the hearing for case number 31804. Case number 31805. Application of Enterplus Resources USA Corp. for an order amending the applicable orders for the Spotted Horn Bakken Pool to establish an overlapping 2560-acre spacing unit described as sections 11, 12, 13, and 14, Township 150 North, Range 94 West, Mackenzie and Montreal Counties, North Dakota, and authorize one horizontal well to be drilled on such unit, or granting such other relief as may be appropriate. This case has been continued to our July hearings. That concludes our hearing for case number 31805. Case number 31716, application of True Oil LLC for an order amending the applicable orders for the Bowline Bakken Pool to establish an overlapping 1920-acre spacing unit described as sections 32, Township 148 North, Range 101 West, and sections 5 and 8, Township 147 North, Range 101 West, Mackenzie County, North Dakota, and authorize 7 horizontal wells to be drilled in such unit, and granting such other relief as may be appropriate. This case has been continued to our July hearings. Concludes our hearing for case number 31716. Case number 31806, application of Burlington Resources Oil and Gas Company, LP, for an order amending the applicable orders for the Bowline Bakken Pool to establish one overlapping 1920-acre spacing unit described as sections 29 and 32, Township 148 North, Range 101 West, and Section 5, Township 147 North, Range 101 West, Mackenzie County, North Dakota, and authorize 4 horizontal wells to be drilled within and granting such other relief as may be appropriate. This case has been continued to our July hearings. That concludes our hearing for case number 31806. Case number 31807, application of Burlington Resources Oil and Gas Company, LP, for an order amending the applicable orders for the Bowline Bakken Pool, Bull Moose Bakken Pool, and Bakken Pool to establish one overlapping 2560-acre spacing unit described as sections 8, 17, 20, and 29, Township 147 North, Range 101 West, Mackenzie County, North Dakota, and authorize 4 horizontal wells to be drilled within and granting such other relief as may be appropriate. This case has been continued to our July hearings. That concludes our hearing for case number 31807. Case number 31808, application of Burlington Resources Oil and Gas Company, LP, for an order amending the applicable orders for the Little Tank and/or Bowline Bakken Pools to establish an overlapping 1920-acre space unit described as sections 19, 30, and 31, Township 148 North, Range 101 West, Mackenzie County, and authorize 4 horizontal wells to be drilled on such unit and granting such other relief as may be appropriate. This case has been continued to our July hearings. That concludes our hearing for case number 31808. Case number 31809, application of Burlington Resources Oil and Gas Company, LP, for an order amending the applicable orders for the Little Tank and/or North Branch Bakken Pools to establish an overlapping 1920-acre space unit described as sections 23, 26, and 35, Township 148 North, Range 102 West, Mackenzie County, and authorize 4 horizontal wells to be drilled on such unit and granting such other relief as may be appropriate. This case has been continued to our July hearings. That concludes our hearing for case number 31809. Case number 31810. Application of Burlington Resources Oil and Gas Company LP for an order amending the applicable orders for the South Boxcar and/or North Branch Bakken Pool to establish an overlapping 1920 acre spacing unit described as sections 27 and 34, Township 148 North, Range 102 West, and Section 3, Township 147 North, Range 102 West, Mackenzie County, and authorize 4 horizontal wells to be drilled on such unit and granting such other relief as may be appropriate. This case has been dismissed. That concludes our hearing for case number 31810. Case number 31811. Application of Burlington Resources Oil and Gas Company LP for an order amending the applicable orders for the Burning Mine Bakken Pool, Mackenzie County to 1. Extend the field outline to include sections 29, 31, 32, and 33, Township 148 North, Range 102 West. 2. Establish 3 overlapping 1920 acre spacing units described as section 31, Township 148 North, Range 102 West, and sections 6 and 7, Township 147 North, Range 102 West. Sections 29 and 32, Township 148 North, Range 102 West, and Section 5, Township 147 North, Range 102 West, and Section 33, Township 148 North, Range 102 West, and Sections 4 and 9, Township 147 North, Range 102 West, and authorize 4 horizontal wells to be drilled on each such unit, and 3, granting to the relief as may be appropriate. This case has been dismissed. That concludes our hearing for case number 31811. Case number 31723, application of Burlington Resources Oil and Gas Company LP for an order amending the applicable orders for the Bennett Creek Bakken Pool to establish 2 overlapping laydown 2560 acre space units described as sections 26, 27, 28, and 29, and sections 32, 33, 34, and 35, Township 147 North, Range 9 and 9 West, Mackenzie County, North Dakota, and authorize 4 horizontal wells to be drilled on each such unit or granting such other relief as may be appropriate. This case has been continued to our July hearings. That concludes our hearing for case number 31723. Case number 31724, application of Phoenix Operating LLC for an order amending the applicable orders for Ranch Creek and/or Bennett Creek Bakken Pool to establish a stand-up 5120 acre space unit described as sections 1, 2, 11, and 12, Township 146 North, Range 99 West, and sections 25, 26, 35, and 36, Township 147 North, Range 99 West, Mackenzie County, North Dakota, and authorize 1 horizontal well to be drilled on such unit or granting such other relief as may be appropriate. This case has been continued to our July hearings. That concludes our hearing for case number 31724. Case number 31726, application of Phoenix Operating LLC for an order amending the applicable orders for Ranch Creek and/or Bennett Creek and/or Lone Butte Bakken Pools to establish a stand-up 5120 acre space unit described as sections 112, Township 146 North, Range 99 West, and sections 25 and 36, Township 147 North, Range 99 West, and sections 6 and 7, Township 146 North, Range 98 West, and sections 30 and 31, Township 147 North, Range 98 West, Mackenzie County, North Dakota, and authorize 1 horizontal well to be drilled on such unit or granting such other relief as may be appropriate. This case has been continued to our July hearings. Concludes our hearing for case number 31726. Case number 31812, application of Dakota Energy LLC for an order amending the applicable orders for the Climax Bakken Pool, Williams County, North Dakota to 1, establish stand-up 1920 acre spacing units for sections 4, 9, and 16, and sections 5, 8, and 17, Township 158 North, Range 102 West, and authorize 4 horizontal wells to be drilled in each such unit, and 2, for such other relief as is appropriate. This case has been continued to our July hearings. That concludes our hearing for case number 31812. Moving to the supplement. Case number 31709, application of Hesbach Investments 2 LLC for an order amending the applicable orders for the Manitou Bakken Pool, Montreal County, North Dakota to 1, establish an overlapping 2560 acre space unit described as sections 4, 9, 16, and 21, Township 155 North, Range 94 West, and authorize 5 horizontal wells to be drilled in such unit. 2, establish an overlapping 5120 acre space unit described as sections 4, 5, 8, 9, 16, 17, 20, and 21, Township 155 North, Range 94 West, and authorize 1 horizontal well to be drilled on such unit, or 3, granting such other relief as may be appropriate. This case has been continued to our August hearings. That concludes our hearing for case number 31709. That concludes our hearings for the day.